Hey everybody, hey, what's up? This is the Roundup. Welcome to our first podcast of 2021. Woo!
Hey, woo!
What's up, Tamara, Brissa, Levi?
Good,
Glad
what's
you guys can
good?
be here with us
Hey.
today.
Hey,
Yeah, today we have a good topic for you guys. We're going to talk about something that's dear to our hearts, something that, of course, we've dealt with all of our lives, just being Black in America. We wanted to delve into that a little bit and talk about some things that's happened in our lives or whatever has helped to guide us to where we are now. Um, in America, things that have happened to us and how we not perceive, but how things are towards us. So, um, let's get into that a little bit. I want to talk about for me, like growing up, I'm a child of the '80s, right? So, well, I was born in the '80s. So, growing up, I didn't really know, the racial issues or anything like that. It wasn't really a big deal for me because I was a military brat. So growing up, I was around all races and everything. It wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't until I got into um, regular school, like before I was always in school with military kids, but then when I came to regular civilian school, when we came back from being overseas with my dad dealing with stuff, we came back to America and I had to be in regular school with kids. I learned very quickly how not so much segregated, but how much division there was between the races. So uh, it's funny now growing up and getting to this age now, seeing how with open eyes, not being as naive as I was as a kid, how things are. So I'm interested to see what your perspectives was growing up and how it led to your mindset now and how you deal with certain things and issues in the community now. Who wants to go first? I'll let you guys speak. And
I'll go first.
okay,
I'll go first. Um, yeah. So same as like what Terrence said. I was born in the '80s, so I would say I'm a '90s type kid. But as being a Black female, I think that I don't have as much pressure as what a Black male would go through, even though we still get, criticized, looked down upon, but it's not as heavy as a Black male. I've had my encounters when, I was in a predominantly white environment and people, were staring me down and looking at all of the movements I made and things of that nature. But honestly, I can say with being Black, you just sort of get used to it. You know what I'm saying? That's your lifestyle. You know that, a lot of people, unfortunately, are racist. And that's just something that is constantly in the back of your mind. That's just what you live with every day. Um, and so, with that being said, I'm very conscious of, how I have to act around people of the opposite race. um and it's sad because you can't truly be you know what I'm saying. That's the thing that I think I hate the most, is that I can't always truly be me when I'm around another race, especially when you get those vibes of, that you're not wanted, or that they feel uncomfortable because you're in their presence. So honestly, it's crazy, but you adapt to it and it just becomes your everyday life. Though it's wrong, it becomes sort of normal in your life. You understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
um, and I honestly feel like that's wrong for anyone to go through. But you know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. And though Black, I really feel now, especially nowadays, I don't feel like Black females have as much pressure. But being that I am a Black female that has a Black brother, and I had a Black father, um, it's crazy because it's a lot of times that I am fearful that sometimes my brother might not make it home, or if he gets pulled over, if something goes wrong, because he's a large Black male. And a lot of times those type of Black males, are perceived as violent or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big stereotype. But honestly, more than anything, I fear for my brothers, my Black brothers, as well as like you, Terrence, Levi, the other ones who are in my life. I fear for that. And 2020 definitely had its slew of encounters of Black men getting gunned down, being killed for no reason. And in the back of my head, I'm looking at y'all, you know what I'm saying, as like that could have been my brother, that could have been their situation, and it's scary. So, it's unfortunate, but it's something that we have to live with every day. But to sum it all up, it's scary. Point blank, it's scary.
Who wants to go next? How has certain things for growing up, and then coming into now, how has that affected your mindset, or not affected you, but helped to influence your mindset as far as being Black and dealing with certain things in America?
Go ahead, Rissa.
So for me, growing up, it was a little different. So because my dad was in the military too, but we didn't move like overseas or anything like that. But my main focus as a child growing up was, why am I the only one in my family before my sister came who looks like me? So, I understood that I was Black, but I didn't know why I looked the way that I did. Because before my sister came along, there's 10 years between us. So I didn't think anything of it until we moved, and I was put in a predominantly white area. And then, so I didn't, the differences were a little bit like different for me, because I was focused on why I look the way that I do. So, but when I came back down here, but, and still, even in that, my family has always like educated me on, we're treated differently because we're Black and we're, But for me, it's always been a little different because most white people assume that I'm white.
Mm-hmm.
So until I tell them, or until they hear me speak, or, they'll ask about, the way that I wear my hair, or, little things that would give them away that I'm not white. So, I haven't been a part of any conversations where it was just like overt racism, but I will say, like, they would tell me things that let me know that they think that I'm white. So, that was different, but I've always been very much well aware of how, people who, Blacks who are melanated, who are, how they're treated differently. I've always been aware of that. And it became very evident as a teenager, and then growing up, up until now. So, and like Tamara said, now that I'm a wife, I also had a Black father, and now I have a Black son, and I have a Black husband. So that fear definitely is there. But but the difference, I would say, is more how it makes you feel, because even with other people that have albinism like me, we've had this conversation too. Like, are we granted a certain privilege because of the way that we look? And I think, and to be truthful, I think there is some that's granted, because I can't say that people have actually treated me differently because they assume that I'm white. So, but I have seen them act differently to people who are, I guess, more obviously Black, if I could say that.
Yeah.
How about you, Levi?
For me, my dad, he was in the military, of course. Most of my, encounters and things of that nature, or being really aware of it, came from my stepfather. He was put in a lot of situations where he was shown a lot of, racism, was actually beaten by cops, white cops and stuff like that in the back of an alley, stuff like that. So, I learned very quickly, very early, when I was like 11, that, you know, this thing is very real. And then I don't think I really had my first experiences like of, okay, they see me different until I was, you know, a little bit older, you know, because at that point in time, I had, you know, a lot of Caucasian friends. I had a lot of Black friends, you know, from the hood, a good mix. I was the type of person that talked to everybody. But then, you know, you will start to see that some Caucasian friends, you know, it was a certain circle they hung around. And as we grew older, I just no longer fit that circle for some reason.
Yeah.
So it was very unfortunate. And in that, I'm still grateful because as a Black man, I don't tolerate any ignorance. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like the year is right now is 2020. The internet is, you can access anything. Like there's no reason for you to be ignorant about, or 2021, I'm sorry. There's no reason for you to be ignorant about anything. I remember an encounter, like me and my family here recently. I think Jordan, she was only a few months old. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's going crazy. You want to say hey?
He want to say hey.
Hey, Logan
is talking.
Here recently, like you know, a few months after Jordan was born, I want to say, I don't even think she was 1 yet. Me and my family, we took a trip down to Florida, and I'm sorry, we went to the beach, right? It was called, I think it was called Santa Rosa Beach or something like that. And man, we walked out on this beach. And first thing we all noticed was there wasn't a Black person anywhere in sight. While we were walking, you should have seen it. Like every single person at the beach, all just looking at us. Like we were as we were leaving the boardwalk, like to the street while cars were driving past. We could literally physically see kids in the back and people in the vans and their cars sitting there looking at us as we drove by. And I was like, this is like, there's a big portion of our country that is like this.
Yeah.
Living in ignorance. That is okay, I'm only going to surround myself with what I'm familiar with. You know, so it's hard, you know.
And it is hard. I keep having to remind myself because of where we grew up. We grew up on the East Coast. And you know, I mean, from New York all the way down to Florida, it's places there it's mostly Black people. But at the end of the day, the population of Black people in America is minuscule compared to the population of other races. So a lot of times I had to keep reminding myself, because in the small corner of America that I live in, you know, it seems like it would be Black people everywhere, but
it really doesn't seem that way.
we don't. I mean, honestly, we're like 20 or even 15% of the population. And that's crazy when I think about it. So a lot of times it helps to make sense as to why some people are ignorant to a lot of our culture, you know what I'm saying? And all they see is what they see on TV, because there's just no Black people around. But I think people should definitely have the mindset of being being open to understanding different cultures, opposed to what you grew up with, you know. So I think that's a big issue. Like 2020 for me was like a big pivotal point, you know, in race relations. I mean, we've always seen stuff going up, but it really, I shouldn't say it helped, but COVID-19 was something that caused a lens to be focused on a lot of the issues with race relations, because of the fact that everybody was home. Nobody was, you know, most everybody wasn't working, and there was nothing you could do but watch and see what happened to George Floyd. And it really let people see that, you know, there's this man who's a cop who would sit on another person's neck for a minute, for over, you know, not even just the fact that it was 10 minutes, forget that, but even over a minute. I mean, that's crazy, you know, you sit on somebody's neck. And it just, to see that type of treatment, it just helped to highlight a lot of the other things that people may not have. They may have seen it and it was like, oh, that's crazy. But then they went back to their lives and was like, okay, well, I mean, I don't have time to deal with that right now. I'm going to deal with what I'm going through. So I wonder what the future holds for race relations in this country, because I mean, I know we have a new president now, and We have a black vice president, a lady black vice president, and we hope to see changes. Let's just see what goes from there. That's all we can do. How do you guys feel about? Go ahead, Levi.
Can I say something? I think for me, as a black man, the thing that I'm most frustrated with is the fact that when people get killed, there's always some type of excuse as to why they should have lost their life.
Yes.
George Floyd, he was on drugs or something like that. How does that equate to somebody's life? Breonna Taylor. Oh, she messed around with a drug dealer and all this other stuff. How does that equate to losing somebody's life? You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, that's the type of thing that you know that really infuriates me more than anything.
Yes.
You know, it's wrong. You know what I mean? It's wrong in any situation. You know, if you can detain somebody who is openly has a knife, hostage situation or whatever, and you can detain that person and take them to jail carefully, then you can do the same thing with others. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. With black people.
With black people, 100%. You know what I mean? We are not villains. You know, we are not animals. You know, we're not hostile people. You know what I mean? So I feel like we should not be treated, you know.
We're not inherently hostile. There's some hostile black folks.
Well,
but
there are some. We're not
hostile people, period.
Right. They're hostile people, period.
That, you know, and you hear, oh, well, you guys are worried about this black on black crime. Hey, look at me in my eyes right now. Black on black crime is a myth. Okay.
It is a myth.
It does not exist.
Yeah. Because nobody talks about white on white crime.
There's more white on white crime in this country than there is black on black crime. Okay.
Yes,
and we don't go there. It's a narrative. I think a lot of this is, and we probably won't get to it today, but it is a conjunction of media in conjunction with
a huge conjunction.
You know, it's a lot of inflaming and things of that nature, and emotions being played and all that different type of stuff.
In addition, and adding that on top of the already preconceived notions that white people believe about us anyway.
Exactly.
So you have to understand, because like when you said, oh, well, George was on drugs. Okay. And had that been a white man, it would have been, him being on drugs would have been classified as a mental health issue. Am I wrong? So if that is the case, and if being on drugs or having a drug problem is truly a mental health issue, and just to say this, I do believe there is definitely an issue. It definitely can be a mental health related, but that needs to be across the board for everyone, not just for not just narratives for certain people. For black people.
The media really inflames a lot of issues that happen in this country.
It does.
Because I mean, honestly, that's why, you know, I'm not really quick to jump on anything that the media puts out about us, because or anything really, because they'll make certain situations and issues, they'll feed the narrative to go a certain way. They do that a lot. Like when, I mean, back in the day when the Brooklyn Five, not the Brooklyn Five, the Central Park Five, the Central Park Five, and they had the issue what was going on, and they were kids. They were looked up. They were vilified. They were vilified for a crime they did not commit, and in the media, and they were their confessions were coerced. And I look at how the media plays a big part in causing people to jump to conclusions on certain, you know, how people should be judged, and we have no clue what really happened.
Exactly.
We don't know what happened.
And let me say this: when it's a white environment and a black person comes in the vicinity, everyone's on high alert. They're like, what in the world? Because of what the media puts out about black people.
Exactly.
But let's flip it. Let's say it's a black environment and a white person comes. We don't trip. We don't trip.
We don't.
We don't trip.
They don't trip. They'll walk right in there. They'll walk right into the environment like it's nothing. I mean, look at how you should see how, you know, integrated Harlem has become, or other places that were notably black back in the day, and now it's been gentrified and it's been taken over, and the people aren't scared to go to certain places. I mean, some people are, but I mean, like you said, the media.
It's top.
In addition to their already passed down preconceived notions, that the media really feeds the narrative to what they already believe. Because you got to understand,
Right.
This racism is a taught thing. So
Right.
they're already growing up before they can before these people see anything, especially when you have an area that is predominantly white and it's not diverse. So whatever they're learning at home in their home environment, those things are being taken into their future with them. And then the media feeds that narrative. So it's not, yes, they play a big part, but it's also what they're learning. Like that clip, there was a white girl, who was trying to explain to her parents about why we were upset and the push for BLM. And you couldn't see them on camera, but they were like, oh, well, Black people are this and this. And she's like, no, that's not it. This, like she's really defying what her parents are trying to tell her about Black people. And who knows where they heard it from or if they've had personal experience, whatever, but white people in our homes are not villainized like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it really,
that's my whole point.
It baffles me.
Exactly.
That's my whole point.
That's the big thing. It's like
end.
Yeah, I can't in my lifetime. I've never heard my parents or my grandparents, anyone close to me, badmouth a white person just because of their color. I mean,
exactly.
It's been more so now to be like, I mean, not now, but in the past, it was more so just be careful because you just don't know.
Right.
And that's been the issue. Like even now, I've gotten to a place now where because I know, because there are certain issues or things that have happened in my life where now if I go to a certain place, I'll make sure I'll try to look around and see diversity. Like Levi was talking about, they went to the beach. Like the other day, I was out with some friends and we had the conversation. I forgot how we got onto it, but I was like, I looked around in the place we were in. I was like, okay, I'd like to see that it was diversity in there. And one of the coworkers that was with me, she was like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, whenever I go out to eat or I go anywhere, I'm going to the mall, whatever, I'm looking around to see if there's other people that look like me.
That's right.
Because especially if it's a place where I've never been,
that's right.
But it was the other day, because I don't know the area, and every area has a different feeling. You don't know what the area really is when you go there. So what the predominant mindset of the area is when you go there. So whenever I go anywhere, I try to see diversity there, because I might be in some place where they might not. I mean, it might be a place where there just aren't any Black people. Sometimes I've been places like that, but there are some places where there's no Black people because they don't like Black people around, or they don't like diversity around.
Exactly.
And I mean, I a couple years ago I went cross country. I took a cross country trip. I just wanted to, and I went through Montana, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Missouri. When I got up there, when I started driving through there, I was a little apprehensive, because I mean, I've never been there for one, and then I just assumed there's not a lot of Black people in those areas. And I stopped at a couple places. Of course, I mean, I wasn't there long to really gain the full mindset of the people, but the people were okay. They weren't like mean, but I was in areas where the interstate was there, so it wasn't like off to no side area where people could really be where they want.
Ain't no back street where they could drag you off.
I won't no back streets nowhere, and there's certain places where we can't go. It's just what it is.
You can't go after dark either.
You can't go after dark. And I think some people of other races don't understand that. For us, like in some parts of Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, we can't go.
Nope.
And
West Virginia.
Virginia.
I remember my grandfather, before he passed away, my uncle's wife, she's from West Virginia, and he went to use the bathroom one good time, and there was a little kid inside the bathroom who had never saw a Black person ever before in his life. My grandfather walks in, and the little kid runs out yelling, "Oh my God, he's going to get me. He's going to get me. He's going to get me."
Oh my gosh.
That's a real thing, like in this country, in the United States of America.
It's crazy. That's
It
crazy.
is crazy.
That's
I mean,
inexcusable.
it's certain things like people. I've had people. Y'all know what my job is. I don't want to put it out there, but I work, you know, in law enforcement. But I've had people come and tell their kids, you know, because it's law enforcement, and they don't want to control their kids. I guess they can't get their kids to control. They'll tell, "I'm gonna get this officer to get you," and when hearing that mindset, I'm like, I wonder what other stuff they say behind closed doors, parents, when they get to their kids and they tell their kids, like, why would
Right.
you tell somebody? Why would you tell your kid who you're supposed to be in control of, that you'll get some other person to get on them? They'll get you, or this person will get you if you don't do this. This person will get you if you don't do that. I'm like, in my mind, you're the parent, so that stuff comes up with these kids, you know, and
Yeah.
they grow up with that, like you said, this taught mindset, and it's really unfortunate. But what do you guys feel like? How do you feel for the future? How do you feel? I mean, I saw like other day, like President Biden, he signed into law some things to help there be equity among healthcare and some other things. I wonder how that's going to help play out in the future. But what other things do you guys see or feel needs to happen in the not in the near future to help build race relations to be better? What do you feel needs to happen?
Well, I mean, honestly, I just feel like people need to be open-minded. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we definitely, you know, with the change of the administration, it may help some things, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to change what people believe is to be true. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? So I think as long as people can be open, even if you don't disagree, at least be, or even if you don't agree, even if at least be open enough to try to see it from someone else's point of view. All we're asking is that you at least be empathetic. And at the end of the day, you don't have to agree. You can, you know, but you just need to be open.
I'm sorry, I was laughing at Savannah.
I know she is all over the place. I'm sorry.
But how do you what do you have, Tamara or Levi? What do you guys think?
I agree. I just feel like you know, we need to stop being closed-minded and just like be understandable. Honestly. We know that, you know, for centuries, you know, Black people have been targeted for a lot of things that were, you know, wrong. So with that being said, I feel like if the other cultures and races, if they, and same with us too, you know what I'm saying, with everyone, if we're just open-minded, I feel like a lot of peace would flow more, love would abound more. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to, you know, the different types of people, that's just what it is. We're different types of people. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's what makes up this world. And if you're going to be closed-minded about that, yo, stay in your house.
Yeah.
Stay in your house. Because you know, it's wrong for me to want everyone to be just like me or have the same mindset as me. That is asinine.
And I wouldn't want that either.
It's asinine. It's stupid. So, you know, just be understandable. Like, I don't understand what I don't understand. I really don't. I don't understand why people can't be open-minded. It baffles me.
Yeah. Like your skin color doesn't dictate the type of person that you are.
Yeah. I'm not like the Black woman that you saw yesterday. And she's not like me. And you know what I mean? Like, we're different
just like
people.
any other race is not the same.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
It is crazy. What do you have, Levi? I'm sorry.
You're fine, man. Only thing I will say is that race, you know, race it became a thing, right? It wasn't a thing. We're all just the human race. I'm sorry, I got hiccups. Don't laugh, Terrence. We all are just the human race. That's how God created us. You know what I mean? There was no this person, that person, or this race or that race or something like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't until, you know, somebody wanted to categorize themselves apart from someone else.
Right.
And, you know, in this world today, Lord have mercy. In this world today, we really need empathy, you know, the ability to be able to put yourself in somebody else's situation.
Absolutely.
Right.
And, you know, that above anything else, you know, is needed more than anything. I'll be quiet now before. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like what Levi just said, we need empathy, not apathy.
Correct.
People need to understand, like, you need to start feeling things for other individuals.
Yeah.
And I think once that is through everyone's head, this nation would be great. It would be great. You know what I mean? You just got to have compassion. Lord.
And also, I'm sorry. I just also wanted to say this. I think that white people need to first acknowledge the fact that there is a difference. Okay? Like, a lot of them deny that because I don't know if it's too much or too heavy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's you that's that way, but you do need to understand and admit that there is such a thing as white privilege, and there is a difference in how you are treated versus how Black people are treated.
I think what the bigger problem is that sometimes people are oblivious to that this country that we have here today was not made for people who look like us.
Right.
And that's the misconception. A lot of people believe, because this is the land of the free, then that freedom means that it applied to everybody. And that was not the case. It only applied to people who look like them.
Correct. That is true.
I feel like a lot of it too. I mean, there are people who have. I feel like a lot of the issues come from people not having. A lot of the racial issues also go in line with monetary wealth. I think the racial issue is bigger because of, you know, if you're Black, you're Black. I mean, we hear people who are Black who have money, who have had, you know, issues with, you know, racial discrimination. But a lot of it is people with money, they just don't have the mindset to, you know, empathize with other people. It's crazy.
Nope.
But there are people who are I won't say,
and that can be even people who don't come from like long money.
Yeah.
It's with money, period. That's very true.
I won't say Hicks, but there are people who aren't there are people of all different walks that are still racist. So, but I don't know. We like, again, we try not to overemphasize all the time. We are still Christians, but at the end of the day, we hope that things will change.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. You know, there's certain prophecies, certain things that we've seen, and certain things are lining up. But I'm hoping, you know, we hope for things to be better for our people, for the people in general. I look at the fact that when you talk to a lot of, I live in New York, and a lot of people that are here, they can identify with places that are not just America. Like, we have people here who are they're African American, but they are from Nigeria. They're 2 generations away from Nigeria, 3 generations, or same generation from Nigeria. People from Italy, their family 2 or 3 generations ago came here. Italy, Irish, people from Bangladesh, India, Puerto Rico. Even though Puerto Rico now is American. But before the 50s, it wasn't. So they had to immigrate here. A lot of people immigrated here. We didn't. My family. I don't know past 3 generations from this, or 4 generations from this, where my family even came from. You know, I don't know if we were, Nigerian, Ethiopian. I don't know any of that.
That's big. So, that's huge.
It's a huge thing. I mean, there are people who I can identify with, and I think that's why people don't really understand us, because, the Black Americans, because we can only identify with America. So we want to have America identify with us. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't understand us. America as a whole doesn't understand us because we don't have a home to call. People, even here in New York, when you when you have people who don't feel comfortable with this or that other, they go to what's comfortable. Dominicans, people from, you know, Asian countries, they live in their, you know, comfort zones, and no one is willing to empathize. And we don't have that. You know, there's no place that we can call ours, you know, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal in helping to get people to understand outside of our race, you know, because when you look at, like, when I talk to people from who have, you know, backgrounds in other countries and other nationalities, they're like, you know, well, my race did this and we had that. We didn't have that. We weren't allowed to do anything. We weren't. We were forced to come to this country under extreme duress.
Yeah.
And now we just want to be understood. You know, it's a long history. People say, "Oh, that was hundreds of years ago," but that mentality goes from generation to generation to generation.
Yes.
So,
and that's another thing too. I'm sorry. Wait, Savannah. I'm so sorry, guys. But people don't speak about the Holocaust that way. Like when people bring up the Holocaust, when people bring it up, because that was a very, and I'm probably gonna get some stuff for this, but that was a very horrible time. Horrible. But when people speak of that, no, you never hear them say, "Oh, that was a long time ago." You know, you don't hear people say that. And people die just the way that, just in the same, not in the same way, but it was still the same horrible, tragic, and all of that trauma that happened to them. That trauma still happened to our ancestors, but for us, it's a long time ago.
Marissa, you should just get over it.
Right, you know what I'm saying? No, but true, that's what they say. And then, but when it comes to 9/11, never forget. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to our history, it's, it was a long time ago. We're not like that anymore. Get over it. Why is that?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, it's not so much that we want to. I mean, honestly, America paid Jewish, not Jewish, but America paid, I think, Israel for the Holocaust. They, you know, they gave them things for what happened. What we? I mean, I'm not saying we're looking for anything. We're not. Well, some people are. I think we're owed it. Slaves were enslaved and held captive in America by the government and the people of this country for generations, not just for, you know, a couple of years. It was generations, and we're just supposed to forget about it. And, you know, I'm glad for where we are now. I just it's about understanding. It's not so much about saying I'm sorry. It's not so much about, because I know it was a lot of people who live now said, well, that was, you know, far beyond now. Well, of course, that was not grandparents. That was ancestors for you, just like it was ancestors for us. But there was no real apology from the American government. I mean, there was, I think it didn't come until like 2010, 2015, when the government said that they apologized, or they actually made like an apology, but they said there's no way to really give reparations for what happened. So
okay, but it didn't stop with just slavery with us, though. You know, there was other stuff done to us purposely, like the Tuskegee experiment. But you know, I digress.
Black Wall Street.
Yes, Black Wall Street. Oh my God.
There was a lot after slavery. So segregation, Jim Crow laws. I mean, we can go well beyond, you know, slavery and that.
Yes.
And listen, you know, at the end of the day, like all of us, we are Christians. You know what I mean? And if you call yourself a Christian, then there is no way that you can hate another person. Like, you cannot, it does not go hand in hand. There's a scripture. He's mad. There's a scripture in 1 John. I can't remember what chapter it is, but it says simply, you know, how could you say that you love me? And it's talking about Jesus Christ, whom you have never seen, but you hate the person whom you see every single day.
Right.
Like, and you think that you're going to inherit the kingdom of God, and it says that you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that we have
That's
to keep in the
facts.
back of my mind, because a lot of people who speak hate, they also speak that they are loving Bible saved believers.
Oh
They
yes.
sure are.
Oh yes.
Those are the
Yes.
predominant ones.
And the
Yes.
two do not go hand in hand.
Right.
You cannot have hate and love coming out of the same mouth.
It's just
Right.
crazy. I'm looking here now. It says, I think from what I'm just this is a quick Google search. It might be incorrect, so don't hold me to it too much. But it's looking like now the first official apology from the United States government was in 2008, where
And that's when Obama became president, correct?
yeah. Congress apologized for this was in 2008. The U.S. House of Representatives issued an unprecedented apology to Black Americans for the institution of slavery and the subsequent Jim Crow laws that for years discriminated against Blacks as second-class citizens in American society. This was on July 29th, 2008. So, I mean, slavery started here literally hundreds of years ago, and the first apology for it was in 2008. So, I mean, you gotta kind of understand. I mean, Black people been through a lot. I mean, before my parents grew up in the 50s, and I look at now how and things are changing now, but the war on drugs unfairly discriminated against Black people. I mean, it's so much stuff that happened
Yes.
that really, because they were doing drugs before. They were doing drugs before that. I mean, the 70s was known for the drugs, but then the war on drugs came.
And
But why was Black?
too.
Yeah, but why were? I don't
But they were
understand how in a country where that is predominantly white, most of the people that ended up in jail for drugs were Black.
And
Black
now
and Hispanic
it's
people.
an addiction and it's a mental health issue. Why? Because it's now affecting other people, specifically other races.
It's always been affecting other races. They try to say now because I don't know why they try to act like it's more predominantly. I mean, it's happening more in white than it was before. It's
I think
white
because
people,
it's more out there now that it's affecting them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's more, because before you could hide it, especially for with the crack/cocaine epidemic. Cocaine was the high dollar stuff. So people with money had access to actual cocaine. So won't nobody from the hood getting that. So you had to, so they had to dumb it down, mix it, whatever they do with it to make crack. So it was a completely different demographic, and those people were able to quote unquote pay people off. So, so it wouldn't hit the public eye. But now it's becoming, like everything with social media, and because of that, everything is now in your face.
Right. Let me tell
now
you
we see
something.
it.
Media kills. Back then, that we didn't have the devices that we do now. We can record everything, and the actual footage is captured and can go viral.
Yep.
So media kills, because that stuff that they said back then was not true. It's not true.
That's right.
How did the drugs get into the Black community? Let's talk about that.
The FBI.
Correct.
You
the
know what I'm
FBI
saying?
Come on
did
now.
it. The CIA.
Come on, like
And
it's
known.
not true. But the media puts it out. Drugs equals Black,
Yep.
and then they're incarcerated for years upon years upon years. But how did it get there? How did it get there?
The same way
Exactly.
exact way those men were infected with syphilis.
Exactly.
And you
See,
cannot
the
trust
media.
Go ahead, Tamara. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It burns me. It burns me because the media puts out what they want people to see, and then what the people see, they're dumb enough to believe. It irritates me. That's why I don't look at the news, because it's falsified.
But
ahead.
so what people have to realize, and they have to go back into their mind, like of the olden days, when someone conquered another country or another people, a lot of times their history was erased, from the face of the earth. You know what I mean? So it's the same way. Like, let's think about it. We live in a country that still teaches that Thanksgiving was a nice big old happy dinner between Pilgrims and Indians, and they sat down, they had corn, and they had a good old turkey roast. and we
Mhm.
all know that it was a lie and it was a slaughter.
No,
But
you
here
better stop
we
using the
are.
accent.
There was a
I'm
mass.
sorry. I'm sorry, but here we
It's
are.
true.
Here we are, still in 2021, and we teach our kids this.
Right.
They have programs at school with this. You know what I mean? It's institutionalized. You know what I mean? And a lot of
And
our
that's the
country
thing.
is
That's the
founded
thing
on
I
it.
hate is the institutionalism. The institutionalization of it is denied so much.
100%.
And when you're not taught your history, of course you don't think it happened. Like people there are still people who just realize it now about
Oh.
certain things that happen, and it's like, to me it's like, how do you not know? Like what happened?
You froze, and I was
You
trying to pick it up, but you came back. Good, keep going.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just certain, it's crazy to me, it's certain things that people just don't know. So
Yeah.
I just, it's people, if people would take the time to understand the history of the country, they would understand, but people don't care. I mean, even
Right.
among
Don't.
black people, white people, all races in America, for some reason, the general, not the general, but a lot of the pervasive mindset is that doesn't pertain to
Apply.
me. So you know,
Nothing
so
in this
why
country
worry about it?
applies
So,
to people until it happens in their immediate into their immediate circle.
yeah,
If it doesn't
That's-
happen
I
in
mean,
the
that's,
circle, then it
it's just like
doesn't.
how COVID got so bad because no one cared about it until they got in America, and then all of a sudden everybody cared about it.
And nobody
Exactly.
and people knew about it and didn't want to warn nobody. But
Yeah,
okay.
that's true.
Oh,
But
Lord.
that's true.
But it's true.
That's true.
You
It
knew
is.
about
But
it, you downplayed it until
It's
yeah.
true.
So I mean, what's your, like we said, we hope for the future that the relations will be improved. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about. Of course, I don't think that a change in presidency will change anything that drastically. At the end of the day,
I'm grateful that it changed, but
I'm grateful for the change, but at the end of the day, I feel that a big issue is that we are a minority in this country, and it takes people willing and wanting to see the truth to make the change. So I mean, I feel like with what happened with George Floyd, a lot of people woke up, and then also to see what happened at the Capitol, a lot of people was like, I can't believe what's happening. The
Yeah.
Capitol is the Capitol,
and they ain't
like,
talking about it either. I'll tell you that. They not talking about it with a whole bunch of people. Because
yeah.
I can tell you this. And it's very quiet. Like it was very quiet after that day had happened. But when people were up in arms and rioting after George Floyd, it was a conversation that lasted for 20 minutes at least. And then I come in the next day and everybody's silent. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, gosh, I cannot believe what happened yesterday. Yeah, it was frustrating. Next. And that's like, see, that's the kind of stuff, because you were so willing to speak about it when it was us. But y'all get up there and show your whole tales to the nations, and all of a sudden everybody's quiet.
I will say I'm glad that it seems like they're swiftly more and more they're not picking people off, I shouldn't say that, but picking up people and giving them jail time, or at least charging them with things, and it's
putting
not
them
like
on no-fly list, everything.
Yeah, it's not being swept under the rug.
No.
And that was my biggest issue, is making sure that this stuff doesn't get swept under the rug.
Correct.
I don't blame the officers. A lot of people blame the officers. They said that people weren't there were maybe 2 or 3 officers that didn't do anything, but there are many pictures I saw where
they were getting trampled.
Lineup. They were getting trampled. I mean, it was thousands of protesters. They just weren't prepared. And I don't know why or how they didn't perceive that there could have been a threat, how they missed it.
It wasn't us. That's why.
And honestly, I feel like my biggest thing was, I feel like that was it. And then 2, I look at it as most times they don't. I mean, for most protests, they don't authorize or start, or I don't know the word. They don't put the National Guard on high alert for most protests. It didn't really start like that for Black Lives Matter until like what a week afterwards. Because I mean, honestly, we were burning. It was stuff getting burned down for about a week.
It was, but that's what I'm saying. If you can understand the uproar, even they had enough forewarning to know that it could have gotten violent. If you would have seen so many people who voted for Trump, and you know who they were upset because going for the voting fraud and all that stuff. They were, and people, and even like the lady who unfortunately lost her life,
Yeah,
she had a video and it was shared and she was upset. Like, for someone who served her country and then you go and you do something like that, like I can understand, but like people after the election were upset. And then so they're telling people, broadcasting that they're going to go and storm the Capitol. You should have been on high alert. Just for the simple fact of how upset they were. Yes, they weren't, rioting, but these people was going hard from some of these videos that I've seen.
No, they were.
And so this is not. It's not like it wasn't something you should have at least had them like squared away, ready to come out at a moment's notice. Like they were already out and lined up and at attention when it was BLM in DC last summer. So you should have at least had them somewhere where they could have been and called order to that in a moment's notice. There was no excuse as to why they weren't ready. They did not anticipate that they were going to be rioting and looting, and they didn't anticipate the violence that because they don't expect people who look like them to be violent. They just don't.
Yeah, they didn't expect that. I mean, honestly, I was watching something where it was like Tammy Lauren. She's very high spoken about. About how things happen, and she was like, one of her tweets was, if Biden loses, there'll be rioting and looting because of what happened with Black Lives, with all the stuff that happened last year. And she said, if Trump loses, you won't see that. And I mean, there wasn't looting and rioting, but they stormed the Capitol building. I mean, and some people equate that. Some people try to logically equate that. It's not the same. It's not the same,
it's the same to me.
Storming the Capitol building
unruly. Like,
it's not the same as,
See, honestly, to me, it's worse.
Yeah.
You can go on the Capitol grounds and try to invade the building?
Yeah.
What?
Right. And then they didn't think they were going to get in trouble.
I don't get that. Like, what?
One lady, she was openly saying we're going to start a revolution, and then she was like, you know what a revolution is, right? The Revolutionary War was I mean, even though we survived it, it still was a kind of treasonous war against England.
It was, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they thought that they were going to storm the Capitol and do all of that they were doing, and life was going to go back to normal. Like, you can't go into one of the most protected and secured areas in this nation.
I don't get it.
Put your location on your cell phone, and y'all are there. You don't think that you're not going to get reprimanded for that? Come on.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Don't understand.
Well,
we wouldn't have seen anything like that because we already know what would have happened if it was us.
Thank you. Like, let's be real. Okay.
Yes. Because we wouldn't have even made it to climb that wall.
That's what I don't understand how they got that far. It's like a lot of questions. Okay, a lot of questions.
Because there were
need some answers.
I will say, guys, I mean, they were using rubber bullets and they were using it, but it was just they weren't like, again, the people who were actually there they didn't have the manpower, and people came with gas masks. People came with so I'm talking about rioters
They were ready for all-out war. They came ready for all-out war.
They were ready. So I mean, at the end of the day, the stuff that the people were using that they normally use on rioters, it just wasn't effective because they came ready for it. You know what I'm saying? So
we got tear gas so a man can take a picture in front of a church he don't go to in the Bible he don't read. Okay, I'll keep it
right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of craziness. I just hope from now on that it's not like Game of Thrones where we try to dethrone Cersei and we end up with freaking Mad Queen who burned with a dragon. That's what I'm hoping it doesn't become, you know. So
Right.
100%.
because we don't know the future.
You don't.
But we shall see. We definitely shall see.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it at that. Anyone have any final thoughts or anything?
No, I just, when you were this is my last one I wanted to say, when you talked about, things that we could do while we're hoping for this change, still hoping in 2021, just, making sure that you have your conversations with your husbands and, which I'm pretty sure they know, but just to reiterate, things that they can do to make sure that they come home. Have this conversation early with your children, not just your sons, your daughters. As you all saw, my daughter was up here, because there have been women who have fell victim as well. So, let's not forget about us. Talk to your children and talk to them frequently and early.
And also, don't let the spirit of fear grip you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Be
real easy
prepared.
for that to happen right now in the country, so don't let that spirit of fear really, overwhelm you, with
Yeah.
everything that you're seeing.
Right. Be prepared. Don't be scared.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say,
But be wise.
is to
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't do it again. One thing I want to say is, with being open-minded, make sure that you guard your heart. And what I mean is, because we see how other races treat the Black race, don't let that get you so upset that now you want to hate those races. Don't go there. So one thing for me, because when the whole thing happened with the Black man who was jogging in the white neighborhood and just gunned down for no reason,
That's to mess me up. Ahmaud Arbery.
that messed me up a lot. Honest to God, that messed me up a lot,
Yeah,
because
that was hard.
he depicted Terrence, Levi, my brother, my other brothers that are in my life. That's what I saw, and it messed me up. I was so angry. I was beyond livid. I was angry. I was really angry. So, and I was like that for a while. And what I had to do as an individual who did not want to get out of sorts with everything that's going on, I got involved in my local community. Honestly, I did. So I started to do a lot of research in my city, things that I can do to help the community. A lot of times we have certain weekends where we will get together as community, pick up trash, things of that nature. Like I have to get involved. And
that's big.
As me being the age that I am, seeing the things that I'm seeing as I get older, I had to understand my ancestors went through purity hell to make sure that I live the best free life that I can. And how dare I not get involved? How dare I not be committed to the movement that I see before me, and just be like, man, whatever, it's never going to change. They're always going to hate us. No, I need to do something. Action means a lot. And I'm tired of people, they got a lot of this, but they don't do anything. We'll talk all day about how they treat us wrong. Get your tail in the community then. Do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Let them see this is what love is. This is what we need to do as a people, and bring people together. You know what I'm saying? Black, whites, Latinos, whatever. We all need to come together. And I felt convicted, and I'm glad that I saw it in a different view, in a different perspective, because I felt convicted. And I was like, yeah, you got a lot of steam, and you got a lot to say, but you ain't doing nothing. You just saying stuff is not doing anything. Get out there, get in your community, and do something. So that's what I'm doing right now, honestly. Just learning about my local laws in my city,
That's
And
big too. That's really
yeah,
big.
Yeah,
it's
it
very
is.
big. And me being so naive and being ignorant to it, I didn't understand. You
Right.
know, you see things on TV and you just, like you said, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't hit you like that. So you just don't, you don't bother with it. That was, I was being, I was being dumb. Okay. I was being dumb.
It's not
And
dumb. It's just life. I mean, you have life
it,
is going on,
that is true.
and it is
And
what it
life
is.
does go on. But the fact of is that me, I can say for me myself, I just like it just went in
Right.
this ear and went out the other.
Right. Right. Right.
I didn't hold on to it, and that's wrong of me. Like I said, it runs deep with me when I have my ancestors who were beaten, raped, killed, hung, who saw my future, and I'm not
Right.
doing anything with it. That's what gets me. So that's what I'm saying. I was being done with it. That's what I mean. And I understand life happens and things of that nature. People have marriages, kids, careers, blah blah blah. But if you're gonna talk all this and be angry about it, then do something. That's all
Just
I'm
yeah.
saying. You can't just talk. You have to do something. So that's why I'm like, you know, with everything that I have going on, I still make it a point to understand my local laws in my city, see what I can do in the community, and just be a part, because that's what's going to change. If no action is taking place, there can't be a change. So that's my last little insert. We gotta make a change and not just talk, but do it too.
My last thing I will say is for us, because we live in this country, right? Some people, I feel like some of us who are Black don't want us to. I've heard some people want to go segregated again. They don't want to say integrated, but that's not. I mean, that's not what this country is about. I mean, it's not about being separated. I mean, it's a country
Not
where we're
about
trying
anymore.
to. I mean, it's not supposed to be that way, you know. I
Right.
mean, I know that's how it was even back in the day for us, but it's not supposed to be that way. It's about
Right.
coming together and learning from each other, and
Yep.
we have to have the hard conversations, and we have to align ourselves with people who are willing to have those hard conversations and make sure that we use wisdom to be, you know, to guide us to see who those people are. And also when we having these conversations, we can be emotionally and passionate about it, but you can't let it come to a place where you just cut people off. We have to have the gumption and the wherewithal to have long suffering, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to change if we don't fight for it in a way that has compassion. Because
Exactly.
Right. That's true.
you can't just, we don't have the power to change people's minds. Only, honestly, I mean, as far as being a Christian, because the only God can change people's minds.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, you can also, I mean, you know, do what you can, and after a while, you know, you can wash your hands of it, because some people's minds aren't going to get changed. But
Right.
you as a person, you don't have to, you know, revert to a place where you're just done with it. I feel like some people, at the end of the day, we all have to use wisdom with dealing with certain things. I mean, like Levi said, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but in certain aspects, you have to kind of see, okay, this step will lead to this step, will lead to this step, and is it worth my life to do certain things? I mean, I look at how Dr. King, you know, he paid the ultimate price for
That's what
his
I'm
stance.
saying.
You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And so it's not something you would take lightly on. You know, you have to use wisdom with this stuff, and
You got to count on the call.
You do.
you know what I'm saying? So at the
But
end of the
see,
day,
dang, yo, that and I'm sorry, and I know we're trying to end it, but that's conflicting within me, because what if what if Martin Luther King had that same mindset of, if I do this, I might die. But he changed history. You
no,
see
that's
what
what I'm
I'm saying?
saying. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
it was wisdom on his part. I feel like, you know, I feel like with him, he knew what he knew what he had to. He knew what was going to happen.
Like he was aware of the severity of what he was doing.
Right, you have to be
Yeah.
wise and know the severity of everything that's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. Like,
And that's when
don't be
when things were very like out there in your face racism, not none
Yeah,
of this
that's-
undercover stuff.
That
And-
was
Or,
it was
right.
blatant then.
And then later
and see,
on,
at that
for it to
time back
come
in
out,
those days, we had like you can see, we had leaders now we don't really. Well, I take that back. We have, I know who would you say is a leader in the Black community now? Before we had Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. We
don't
had people who stood out, but now that I
we
mean,
don't
I
have a
feel like Tavis
predominant.
Smiley was there at one point,
Who?
but he kind of just Tavis Smiley, but he kind of just fell off. Tavis Smiley,
Mm.
Dr. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, but now I'm like,
Unfortunately, a lot of our Black leaders, they traded, you know, being true for $1. You know, honestly,
Yeah.
it
I
was-
will say, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I'm sorry, Levi, go ahead.
it became more about, you know, publicity and things of that nature. Unfortunately, you know,
Yeah, that is
Even when
very
I-
true.
when I look back at even the Dr. King situation, you know, as far as our country even acknowledging that the U.S. government killed him, you know what I mean? Like if you go back and look at the records, they admitted that they did. You know what I mean?
oh wow,
That's great. That's like corruption on a whole different type of level.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Marissa.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think honestly, if you look back into a lot of stuff like that, our minds would probably be blown at some of the stuff that is government sanctioned. So,
oh yeah,
but going back,
we already know. I mean,
Yeah, we already
yeah,
know.
we do. But I'm just saying, like, what even on a more intricate and higher level, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff that we really just don't know. But I know
J.
one
Edgar-
guy
J. Edgar
who's very
Hoover.
consistent. I don't know if a lot of you, I don't know if y'all know who he is, but Jesse Williams, he's the actor on Grey's Anatomy. He plays Dr. Jackson Avery. He's very outspoken and very involved when it comes to Black Lives Matter. And he's like, I mean, he's a part of a lot of different things. I'm actually just realizing all of this within the last couple of months. Like he's going out there being the face of a lot of, like, especially like BLM. He's the face of a bank, Black owned like banks, and you know, promoting generational wealth within the Black community. Like he really is doing a lot. I think he's like slowly but surely coming into the forefront. So, and he's always been vocal about it, but I don't know if a lot of people really know who he is outside of his, you know, his acting. But
Yeah, it's true.
he's making some big moves though.
It's a lot going on. It's a lot more we could go into, but we're trying to in the new year
Yes.
to limit our podcast so they're not so long.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing going into generational wealth maybe next time and how it's affected us over the years. But I feel like that's a good thing. We really need to get our wealth up as a people.
Yeah.
Stop paying for, you know, expensive shoes and all that stuff and really just save money and build up an inheritance for our children. Other nations do that very well, and it's hard to get out of the hole, but if somebody got to pay the price, so it got to be us for our kids. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
Got to.
But anyway, we're not going to divulge any. We're not going to hold you guys any longer. We thank you for joining us. We appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that like button, share the
At the same
video,
time.
comment at the bottom. You know, we really, really, really appreciate those who've been supporting us and following us and listening to us talk. This is really how we have our conversations most of the time. This is how we talk to each other, and we love you guys. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Roundup. Take care, guys.
Bye.
See you later, guys. Thank you for watching the whole thing.
Bye.